Lacrosse community, my name is Ryan Berns. I'm the founder of the Lacrosse Leadership Institute. It's our mission to empower all those that love lacrosse, to recognize the skills you gain from the sport, to ultimately live your best life possible. Today, we're so fortunate to be joined by Alex Wilkinson. Grew up in California, played Hendrix College in Arkansas, and now is one of the premier coaches at the youth level and high school levels. Alex, thanks so much for being a part of our community today and this conversation. For the rest of the community that doesn't quite know your story, can you please share a little bit? How'd you get involved in lacrosse, and where's lacrosse taking you up to today?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan. Real excited, honored. I've gone through kind of the list of who you've had on here, and it's a humbling list to be able to have a conversation. How I got involved in lacrosse is probably one of the strangest ones. If you remember back in the day on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m., they'd always have cartoons on, and well, if you woke up before 7, there was only infomercials on. And I learned when I was about 5 or 6 that on ESPN2 they had this sport that I had no idea what it was. And it was, I don't know if it was the NLL or a different brand at that point, but there was box lacrosse on TV. And I was like, this is really cool. I grew up playing hockey, and I was like, I don't know what this is. I'm in California, but it looks kind of like hockey. And fast forward to, I don't know, probably 5 years or so later, I'm going to the park and I see some guys with those sticks, and I'm going, what is that? And they're like, this is lacrosse. I said, that was that sport I used to watch before cartoons. And so fast forward from there, and it's been 20 years plus now, and clearly can't give it up. So it's been a wild ride, been a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, Alex, that's so funny that you find it as a kid before cartoons, and then it keeps showing up in our life. And I think that things are meant to happen. Do you have a memory of your first coach or favorite coach that comes to mind when you think of your early lacrosse days?
Oh yeah, I was very fortunate to come up through the coaches who I did. My first coach was Dallas Pulliam. He was a captain at Lafayette when he was there. Great coach. He coaches now in Pennsylvania, Chosen Lacrosse Club, which is like, he started a team just for his son and his son's friends, and they've just gone every year as they've gotten older, and now they're all committing and going to college. So he's a great guy. And then I also came up through the Stars organization after that. So I got to play for some really great coaches, Chris Driggs, Glenn Miles, Brad Reppert. And then in college, I actually got to play for Kurt Fox, who's now head coach at Whittier. So great coaches that I had, and obviously had a tremendous impact on me, and part of why I'm here today, kind of passing it on and doing my part to help grow the game.
Oh, I love that. And just the legacy of lacrosse goes on from coach to coach, player to player. Players become coaches, and it just continues from there. Throughout your lacrosse history, do you have a pinnacle moment or a couple moments that stick out to you?
Yeah, I think as a player, my pinnacle moment was my senior year of high school. We won the OCLA championship. And, I think looking back on it, it's not just, hey, we won a championship. It's when you're part of a special team, it's a special thing. And, the camaraderie that you have with the guys, the memories that you make with your teammates, the work that you put in outside of the game field, at practice and running and lifting and everything like that, the bus rides, the hotel stays. I mean, those are all the things that you look back on now and are like, that was really cool. And then to go out there and perform at a high level, that's a pretty special thing. So definitely that as a player. As a coach, I've started programs out here in Arkansas. Obviously, it's a budding region, kind of like California was back when I was playing. So, I get a kick out of every time I help a kid get into a school he might not have been able to get into, open up that next opportunity, get himself a great degree, and set up the rest of his life moving forward. So those are always the best moments for me now. Now that I no longer get to, strap it up and get out there and get dirty.
Oh, and we missed that so much. We just had a bunch of alumni games for my high school and the middle school team that I coach, and those were so much fun. But you spoke about the camaraderie of lacrosse and being able to be a part of a special team. And I think those special teams have something in common. There's a lot of buy-in. There's also strong leadership. For you, Alex, what does leadership mean?
So I think the more I've been coaching and around the sport, the best description I can find for leadership was there was a Supreme Court justice one time who was asked about pornography or obscene things, and he said, I can't really define it, but I know it when I see it. And I think that there's definitely some components to leadership that everyone will agree with. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to get everybody on the same page, moving the same direction. You have to be an example of, doing the right thing, putting in the hard work, being dedicated, all that. But at the same time, I think you also have to be true to yourself. You have to put your spin on it. I was a very vocal leader, as a high school captain and leader in college, but not everyone is. Some people are more quiet, lead more by example. Some are more rah, some are the cheering on. You just have to be true to yourself. And so I think the more that you can stay true to yourself and maintain the values and the effort and the dedication and the model of that for your teammates, I think that's really where a good leader comes in. You have to be yourself.
So it sounds like being authentic, knowing who you are, and then sharing that with others, ultimately getting everyone on the same page to accomplish the task at hand, but it all stems by being truthful and authentic.
Exactly. Everyone can smell a phony.
And isn't that the truth? And that's something that's so unique, maybe not with lacrosse, but all sports, is we have the safe environment where you're able to go and get a lot of different athletes together who are just having fun. And ultimately, they've got opportunities to be the leader on the team, or whether that's the captain or the last person on the bench. Everyone has an important role. And you said something at this point, you're giving back and helping the current youth and the members of Arkansas get into schools that they may not have been able to. Can you share a little bit about what the landscape in Arkansas looks like for lacrosse right now?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting right now. When I first got back involved in coaching, I used to coach in California, and then when I moved back to Arkansas, I've been coaching here now for probably 6 or 7 years. And at that point, there were only 2 programs in the state. There was one here in Little Rock, and there was one in Northwest Arkansas, Bentonville area. And from that point till now there's, I believe, 8 boys teams and 7 girls teams. So it went from 2 teams to 4 teams, and from 4 teams to 6 teams, and 6 to 8, and it's continuing to grow. So we're actually only in last year we had the first championship of Arkansas lacrosse, because obviously 2020 happened and that put a side rail on the first one. So that season went down, and last year we finally got to have one, and that was awesome. So it's great to see it expanding. I'm kind of got a list of schools where I'm going, these guys should have a program, and at some point they will, and it'll just continue to grow. And the more kids pick up a stick, the harder it is for them to put it down. So
it's because it's so much fun. So this list, is it just the local high schools, or how do you go about growing the program? Because it seems like you've really gone in there as an ambassador of the game to grow it or be a part of this growth.
I think the biggest thing is like you said, it's such a fun sport. That's why we all love it, is it combines every different aspect of all these different sports that we played growing up. And so the more that you can just expose kids to the game of lacrosse, the more it's just naturally going to grow. And as long as you provide them with an environment where they can have fun, they can work hard, they can be creative, they don't have to be a robot. They're not, you're not blowing the whistle, hey, run through the A gap, okay, now block here. Like, it's not football, it's lacrosse, and you get to be fun, you get to be creative, you get to do some different things, go throw a BTB if you want, if it's in the right situation, do whatever you got to do to actually find your passion and your joy. Because if you have a passion for something, that's going to drive you to work harder. And the more you pick up a stick, the more that's just going to fuel itself.
I think that's huge. We get really good at something when we work at it for a very long time. And when you have the passion, and the passion allows you to work hard, you get better at it, and that fuels that passion as well. So you go, you know what, this is getting more and more fun, and you ultimately play at a really high level. What are you telling your kids right now, or kids that you've already coached, what they need to do to reach that highest level, or how are you empowering them to be successful?
I think the biggest thing is you just have to put in the work. There's no magic secret to it. There's no, hey, you're just gonna do one or two things and you're gonna be successful. You have to hit the wall. You have to go pick up a stick. And the biggest thing for that is really finding that you enjoy it. You know, if you have a passion for something, it's going to drive you and push you further. It's going to make you be the best version of yourself that you can be. So, you know, a lot of times that scares kids half the time. You know, you'll get the kids who, oh, he tries too hard, or oh, he's a hardo, or whatever they want to say. And it's no, hard work is a good thing. Hard work is an awesome thing. And if you have a passion for something, don't put that to the side. Don't question it. Embrace it. Let that fuel you. Let that take you as far as you can, as far as it'll take you. So, you know, that's really what I encourage them is, look, you're going to have to put in the work. You're going to have to do X, Y, Z to get there. And it might not seem right now like that's paying off big dividends, you know, but if you get better every day, then by the end of the period, you're going to be significantly better. You know, it's not going to be you go hit the wall once. You're going to have to do it repetitively. You're going to have to do it consistently. You're going to have to put in the blood, sweat, and tears, as we always say, you know. So everyone wants to be the highlight reel, but nobody wants to put in the work. So if you put in the work, that's how you get the highlight.
Right. And that's so interesting. I've been bringing this up, the idea of delayed gratification and the compound effect. And you hit on both of those in terms of just working little by little every single day. And you're not going to see big improvements right away, not even the next day, the day after, but 3 months from now, 1 year from now, 10 years from now, all of a sudden you're the one who's in the NCAA tournament because you've been doing that for 10 whole years. Just those little things, absolutely right. And you get comfortable being in a place where the pressure's on you and you're required to do those little things.
Yep. You gotta do the little things to do the big things.
I love that. Now, Alex, one of the things that we're recognizing in Arizona as we continue to grow is we're looking for more coaches, and that way the kids can have fun, but have someone who has some lacrosse background. What are some of the things that you guys do in Arkansas to overcome the lack of coaches? Because I imagine that in one of the budding areas, you don't necessarily have a coaching staff or those leaders to step in and help the kids have fun and be creative.
I think the thing about finding coaches is you just need someone who's willing to take it on, and you need someone who's willing to put in the effort. You know, if you're going to ask 20 teenage kids to do something, you know, and put in work outside, and, you know, I always say, hey, you have homework in math, you have homework in lacrosse. So if you're going to ask them to do the homework that you have to do for the sport, then as a coach, you also need to do the homework. So especially if you're someone who maybe doesn't have a background in the sport, if you've traditionally, say, maybe helped out with football or basketball or baseball or some other sport, if you can show the kids also that you're learning and that you're trying to get better, then they're going to appreciate that too. You don't have to come in with, you know, a perfect background. You don't have to be, you know, Joe Blow All-American D1 champion. You know, you can come in and have no experience. You know, all of us did at some point. So you just have to be willing to dive in and do the work and come alongside your kids and go along for the ride.
I think that's awesome, because that's also a point of leadership in itself. Whether you're a young leader or an old leader, there's going to be situations that we've never come across in the first place. And it's, how do you adapt? How do you change? How do you overcome? And can you do it with a smile, with the right work ethic? And it seems like those people are the ones that are successful.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you have fun doing something, if you're willing to get your hands dirty, you're going to go places.
Now, are those the working hard and positive, allowing people to go places? Are those things that you coach it just instinctually? It's something that comes up. Do you have themes of your practices, or how do you go about teaching life's lessons through lacrosse?
I think a lot of the life lessons kind of teach themselves through the sport. You know, you don't have to go up and give a rah-rah speech every once in a while. And obviously we're going to talk about, hard work and dedication and being a good teammate and things like that. But it's also just going to happen. If you want to get better at the sport, you're going to learn those skills naturally. And then you can also apply them to everything else you do in your life. I like to keep my practices pretty light. I like to have music playing the whole time. Kids enjoy it. And honestly, side part for me as a coach is it makes them shout louder than the music. So they're used to talking loud on a game field. But doing things like that, I might throw in a funky drill or a creative drill or something like that that allows them a little bit more on the creative side versus just, doing 1, 2, or 3, give them some opportunity to be creative, because at the end of the day, as a lacrosse coach, the hardest transition for me going from player to coach was I can't go out and do anything on the field. You have to let the kids do it. You have to let them make the decisions. Well, if I'm not setting them up to make the right decisions, I can't be mad at them for making the wrong decision. I've got to give them decision-making authority within practices so that they can go out in games and actually make those decisions. So try to curate situations that are going to be game-like, try to have situations that are going to have some competition, but at the same time, keep it fun and light. We're all going to run, we're all going to do wall ball, but not every field's created equal.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's the kids who are on the field on game day. And with Thanksgiving and everything going on, we're having conversations with our family about, hey, how do you raise kids? How do you be intentional? And at the end of the day, you're not really raising kids. You're raising adults. You're raising someone who can be successful, self-sustainable, and we want to empower them to be successful. And I think it's the same thing on the lacrosse field. We want to empower these guys to make good choices, regardless what's going on, regardless who's saying something from the stands, who's watching, who's filming. It's what are the choices that are there, and how do we make a good choice in the moment?
Absolutely. And what are the standards that you're holding them to? Young men, they aren't going to shy away from you holding them to a standard. They will embrace that. They will embrace how you expect them to behave as a young man. They will embrace how you expect them to conduct themselves off the field. They will embrace how you expect them to conduct themselves in the classroom. So it's something where, in that line of keeping everything fun, that doesn't just mean that all the rules go out the window. I'm still going to hold them to a standard, and I'm still going to expect them to perform and behave a certain way. My field is going to be a safe place for anybody. I'm a firm believer that doesn't matter what your background is, everyone should be able to step on a lacrosse field. Everyone should be comfortable on my field. You shouldn't be worried about being bullied, or your gender, or your identity, or your ethnicity, anything like that, your religion, whatever. We're all here to play a fun game at the end of the day and have some great teammates, make some great memories, and everyone should be able to do that.
And that's the communal aspect. We're here. It's some circumstance of brotherhood, a sisterhood. There's that community that you instantly have, where you can hit someone up on Instagram who's on the other side of the country, and we have a conversation, and we're able to share because we have a love of this game. But you talked about the standards that you set, the values that you have. How do you go about instilling those or establishing those with your team?
From day one, it's very simple. First practice, first thing is, look, if any of these things happen, the whole team is going to pay for it. And from that moment on, the kids know we're serious, and they will hold themselves to that standard. If they hear something out of line, they're the first ones on it before I even have to. And, that's what we want from our leaders is we want them not to just go, here are the rules, but go, these are the rules, these are why, and this is how we're going to follow them.
Oh, could you give us a little bit of an example of what you mean by that?
Sure. My first rule on every season is there will be zero hate speech. I don't care if you use it as, if a kid's like, oh, that's gay, or no, that's everyone's running. Everything's going to be safe. I don't care. There's no excuse for it. So they know if someone says something along those lines, we're all hitting the end line, and that'll nip it in the butt. And every once you might have something that'll pop up, 2 months to, and kids are the first ones on it. They know, hey, we don't do that. That's not how we act here. So that's my first rule on every season. It's the first talk I give at every first practice, and the kids know it and they love it. So.
Wow. I love that as well. And again, lacrosse is a fun game. We get to be a part of it, but you take different parts of it and it affects your entire life. And I think that's a big thing. We shed a little bit of light on no bullying on the field. Doesn't matter where you come from. No hate speech is huge. And that ability to be there. I know we're wrapping up on time here, Alex, and I appreciate you so much. Do you have any last thoughts on lacrosse or leadership that you can share with us today?
It's just lacrosse is the best game in the world. I mean, that's why we're all involved in it for as long as we are. And, the little bit that I can do to give back to my area it's what I should do because it's what someone did for me. And at some point, those kids are going to come back and then they're going to give back. And that's how we grow the game. And that's how we keep this community going that we've, been having now for hundreds of years since the Iroquois started it. So it's great. I love it. And, I'm just excited to do my part and keep the train moving.
Oh, awesome. Alex, thank you so much. This legacy is definitely moving forward because of you and all the hard work you guys are up to. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks, Ryan. Definitely appreciate it.